following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is the Cowboys Nation podcast with instant reactions and analysis to breaking news and events in Cowboys Nation.
All right, this is Podcast Nation coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana. Combine edition, of course. We got to go out with a bang because this is the last and final episode for you guys on DallasCowboys.com. Welcome in Nicole Hutchison, Patrick No-C Walker, and the one and only head coach Brian Schottenheimer. How you doing, Coach?
What's up, gang? Good to be with you guys today.
Glad to have you.
Glad to have you.
Man, we're just going to straight to it. I know you have a busy schedule ahead, but you're obviously walking into year two for you. What feels different walking into year two compared to year one?
I think the understanding of how everything flows.
Yeah.
You know, last year I was definitely, what's the proverbial saying where you're drinking water out of a fire hose? That was real, from getting the job and then trying to get the staff together. This year you kind of have a little bit better understand how the schedule works and how the calendar flows. And the thing I'm most excited about is I've got a better feel for the players here. Last year I came here kind of coming in hot and was figuring it out on the run, and this year I've got a much better sense of these guys, or at least most of them. And now after this week here with them, I feel really good about where I am from my understanding of the draft class.
Now, you're obviously a huge advocate of accountability, and you hold yourself to the same standard. You're saying the standard is the standard. In assessing the 2025 NFL season, Brian Schottenheimer, the head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive play caller, what would you say is the biggest opportunity for growth going into year two for you in Dallas?
Yeah, the number one thing we got to fix, obviously, Patrick, is the ball. You know, we got to get the ball protected on offense. We got to take it away on defense. Being -9 is never good enough. That's the first thing that jumps out at me as the head coach. From a play calling standpoint, again, we always want to evolve. I mean, as you go into the season, you got to study, you got to look, and everybody's got a year to look at us and what we did offensively and how to handle our pieces and how I kind of go through a flow. So the scheme has to evolve, but I have to evolve as a play caller as well.
Now, to be fair, because there are two sides to the coin, the other side is what excites you the most about what you saw from yourself in leading the team?
Probably that the energy never dropped. You know, I'm an energetic guy. I like to have fun. I like to just be with the guys. I love being around those guys, man. They fire me up, and probably that's the thing that's what motivates you, man. It's what gets you up after a big win. It gets you up after a tough loss. It's just hey, I get the chance to go be around these guys I love and care about.
Something that, Will McClay told me when he was here earlier this week. He said it's been so fun and also challenging at the same time, learning the different nuances of Christian Parker's defensive scheme, 3-4, moving to a 3-4. What's been the fun part about, kind of learning the different intricacies of his new scheme for you?
I think it's just the layers to it.
Yeah.
I think when you look at it, it's like the layers of where he can take this thing, not that we'll do it all year one, not that we'll do it all the first week of the offseason program.
It'd be ideal.
Yeah, it would be amazing. And he's a pretty good teacher, so we'll see. But I think it's just the layers, where we can take this thing go. And then, again, this week here early on in the mornings, we were able to kind of spend some time doing some playbook stuff, which is great. When you bring your whole staff up here, you got to find pockets of time to do that, especially with a new side of the ball on defense. But to hear the conversations and to hear the connection that's already started between Christian and the other assistants is very, very exciting for me.
When you're evaluating players, since we are at the Combine, got to talk Combine, when you're evaluating players, what do you look for first?
Love of the game. It's real. I think love of the game is something that you can see from the film. It's hard to ask probing questions. It gives this big thing of why they love the game. We try. But I think when you turn on a film and you watch a guy, whether it's the backside corner with a run going away, whether it's a backside tackle on a run going the other direction offensively, or a receiver during a scramble phase, you can see guys that not only how they play, but when they're talking about plays, they light up. And that's real. And you can see it on their eyes. You can see it in their body language. It's real. You can kind of feel that, man, this guy does love football.
The offseason is, as far as team building is concerned, is basically a two-part equation. You have the NFL draft, and you have free agency. And once you guys leave this NFL Combine, you're right into free agency and trying to get some deals done inside and outside of the building. Just talk about the importance of trying to make sure you address as many needs as you can in free agency so that you guys aren't pigeonholing yourselves going into the NFL draft.
Yeah, it works together. I mean, it really does. You have to have a plan, which we have a great plan. The plan, obviously, for free agency was laid out before we got here, because there's conversations that go on throughout the whole week between, Steven and Jerry and Will McClay and those guys and the agents. But again, the focus when you get here for us as a staff is really to dive into getting to know the players, and so that's part of it. Then obviously there'll be more conversations as we're sitting in the suite waiting for the different workouts, and these nights get longer with the workouts in the 40s and things like that. We have some great conversations, so it's constant communication, but that's a strength of ours, and so I think that's why we're set up to have great success.
And speaking to the free agency component, part of that as a subcategory is trying to keep critical players in the building. Talk about Brandon Aubrey, talk about George Pickens. Stephen Jones said more than once that you guys were, quote-unquote, leaning toward the franchise tag on George Pickens to buy some time, which will give you until mid-July to get that deal done. Where are things in the negotiations there, and has the team decided to make that move with the franchise tag?
Yeah, I think Steven nailed it. I mean, we're leaning that direction. Again, I think, if that's what happens, then, again, that's the business side of it. I think GP understands that. What I know about GP is he loves football, but what people don't see, too, is how much he loves his teammates. And that's his teammates here in Dallas. Yep. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. That's what he loves, and I think that's why, again, we feel very comfortable he'll be a Cowboy for a long time.
And where do you guys stand right now? And obviously, it goes without saying you want Brandon Aubrey in the building for a very long period of time. Best kicker in the league, hands down. Butter is where it's at.
Yes. Extra butter.
Yeah,
yes,
extra butter.
Yes.
Butter is where
Yes.
it's at. Where are you guys in negotiations with him, and just what have been the positive takeaways from those talks with Brandon Aubrey, knowing how critical he is to the success of the Cowboys?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the same thing. When you build the right culture here, the players want to stay. The players want to be here. And so as the negotiations and the business side of it happens, the good thing for me and the good thing for us as the Cowboys organization is knowing that, Brandon doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to be here. We want Brandon here. And now, again, we just got to have the time to figure out the numbers and how that works.
I want to get back to the offensive side of the ball, obviously finishing at the top of the league amongst a lot of categories. What's something schematically, though, that you feel is kind of unlocked last year, still can get unlocked?
Yeah, I would say the screen game. That's one of the first things that jumped out at me. Again, we looked at the screen game a little bit, and we had some success, but I do like, we've got pieces in the perimeter like CD and Terp, and even a guy like Ryan Flournoy. They're very, very good with the ball in their hands outside. You got backs like Javonte who have good pace and timing, which is what the classic screens are about. And then a guy like Jaden Blue. I mean, Jaden's a guy that you get him out in space, and we've also got the linemen that can get out in space and do some damage. So I think the screen game is the first thing that jumps out at me.
I'm exceedingly intrigued, Shotty, with this Maris-Leah foul situation. This is something that Scott Simons had told us ahead of speaking with you in your press conference yesterday, and you solidified it. Maris-Leah foul will be moved to outside linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. Nicole had a great conversation with Maris yesterday, and he's excited, champing at the bit to get going there. But as far as the transition process to get him from inside linebacker to outside linebacker, what does that look like for you guys? Obviously, he needs to bulk up, but, as far as the details go, what does that look like? And are you guys going to tap resources like DeMarcus Ware, for example, to help with his technique and things like that? What's the process to get him where he needs to be?
Yeah, well, what I would say first and foremost is, he's played on the line before. Yep. He's really a Sam linebacker and a four down front is what he kind of was. And off the ball, obviously the ability to blitz and rush off of backs was something he's very, very good at. Now he's going to be going on much bigger human beings with much longer arms and even maybe more athletic in some cases. But, man, the heart and the work ethic of this guy, put on some weight, really study some of the things that we're teaching. Really excited about what we've done, bringing Chidera on here as the outside linebacker coach. I mean, we found this guy from Georgia every step of the way.
This
Kirby Smart.
I'm trying not to do it.
I was waiting for it.
I mean, literally every step of the way. I think Kirby kept throwing money at him to try and keep him. Which Georgia's got a lot of. Hey, they've got a lot of resources. But again, I think once Maris gets back up here, he and Chidera already had a couple great conversations, and there's not much that we don't think that Maris can do. It's just a new skill set that he'll be learning.
And how does that, with Maris moving to outside linebacker and Donovan Ezraku, poised to take a huge step, especially he has more of an OLB frame anyway.
Sure.
How does that impact you guys' approach to meetings with these prospects, scouting these prospects, just looking at the edge rush position going into the draft?
Yeah, well, number one, you can't ever have enough of those guys, because, again, whether you're playing 3-4 and you've got two of them out there, whether you're playing third down, you're playing four down nickel, and you've got three of them out there. So you need guys that can affect the passer. There's certainly different traits and styles that these guys have. They're not all one mold. But again, I'm really excited about BT Jordan. BT Jordan's a guy that we're bringing on to help solidify and train all those guys and help them to have a pass rush plan. He's great. He studies the league, offensive linemen, how to attack certain guys, and you look at his success in Denver and what they've been able to do there, 60-plus sacks the last couple of years, and I think that was a great get for us. And again, that shows you guys we're kind of thinking outside the box, and how can we really elevate this group and develop the guys in-house already and the guys we're going to add.
All right, Coach, well, we've all talked about it, how excited we are about the staff that you put together. Excited about this 2026 season. We appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of things to do, but we've got a stacked show up here in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have Christian Parker joining the show. We have Dane Brugler joining the show. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. As a Yeti ambassador and the official pitmaster of the Dallas Cowboys, I proudly represent two of the toughest brands out there. My Yeti coolers are perfect for hot holding barbecue like smoked brisket and ribs, or keeping beer on ice on those hot game days. Customized with a Cowboys star, America's toughest coolers and drinkware are repping America's toughest team. Keep yourself in some good company and get your officially licensed Yeti Cowboys gear at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com.
Every day begins with a promise to work hard and to build a future. That's why we're here, providing the tools, expertise, and John Deere equipment you have relied on for generations to help you get the job done right. We're with you. That's our promise to you. Because no matter the project or the challenge you're facing,
we're with you. We're united. If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Cowboys fans, here's the game plan. Touchdown Tuesday at Take 5 Oil Change. Just wear your Cowboys gear and save 25% on your oil change. No huddle, no overtime. Just drive in, stay in your car, and roll out. You'll be tailgate ready in 10 minutes flat. Keeping up with your car shouldn't be a tough call. Take 5 makes it as easy as calling the coin toss. Take 5 is the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit take5.com to find a location near you. Offer valid through December 31st, 2025. Terms and conditions apply. Valid only at participating locations.
Back to the Cowboys Nation podcast.
Welcome back into Podcast Nation, coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, Combine Edition. Nicole Hutchison, Patrick No-C Walker, and the one and only athletic writer, of course, Dane Brugler. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, pleasure's all mine. This is a fun week, and so, but it's not the combine. It's I get to talk with my Cowboys friends. So.
Hey, we love that.
We do love that here.
We do love that, and Cowboys fans are massive on Dane Brugler.
I owe a lot to Cowboys fans. I mean, I lived in Frisco for 10 years, and being a part of the draft show and DallasCowboys.com and doing all that kind of stuff for 6, 7, 8 years was a lot of fun, and I love talking ball with Cowboys fans. So.
And we love to hear it.
And that's why you're here. All right, let's get straight into it. This combine, you said, it's been a lot of fun, of course. What's a position that has intrigued you the most since you've been here?
Well, maybe it's just recency bias because we saw them on the field last night, but these linebackers were so dang impressive. Sonny Styles, I don't want to talk about him too much because
you have to.
He's not making it to 12. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't want to talk about him too much because I don't want to get Cowboys fans. I know. He was already probably going top 10, and then what he did last night is this is one of the dreams. He's 5 overall on my board, and it's like, oh, shoot, do I have him too low? I mean, I think once we know Fernando Mendoza is going 1 to the Raiders, and then number 2, it's like, all right, this is where you start talking about Sonny Styles to the Jets. I think he's at least in that conversation. But the linebackers as a whole were really impressive, not just the 40 and the vert and all that, but the positional drills, how they were moving around out there. Really athletic group, both horizontally, vertically. The change of direction stuff was really impressive. Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech, like obviously anybody that watched Texas Tech defense knows he can play. Yeah. But I don't think we appreciated the athlete enough. And I was down there in Mobile on the sidelines watching him, and I got a new appreciation for just the way he moved. And then here, Indianapolis, same type of thing. For him to go 6.90 in the 3-cone, the short shuttle was amazing. It was, 4.19. Yeah. It's not just speed with him, it's change of direction, and then you watch the film and the ball just finds him. Yeah. So it's like, okay, what's not to like about this player? And so how early are we going to take him? I thought coming into the week he was in that late second-round range. Now, again, you start to run out of reasons why he shouldn't go higher.
Talking about, and I want to piggyback off of this because pretty much a lot of these linebackers have running back experience coming out of high school. So you see the ball skills definitely jumping off the tape. But what do you say is pretty much like where would you rank the linebacker position or class, so to speak, compared to years past?
I'd say this is an above-average class. And, you know, we need it because quarterback's light, running back's really light. There are some other positions that aren't as deep, but linebacker, and I think there's every single round. You know, you want one in the first round, okay. I mean, Sonny Styles is right there for you. If you want one second round, third round, there's somebody you can circle and say, hey, let's come away from this round with one of these players. Jake Golday from Cincinnati, what he did yesterday. Kyle Lewis from Pittsburgh is a different type of linebacker, and that's the other thing. I think there's different kinds of linebackers depending on if you're looking for a Mike, if you're looking for maybe an overhang or more of a hybrid. So I think this draft gives us a little bit of everything depending on the style of linebacker you want.
So as you're compiling the beast, shameless plug, if you know, you know.
Thank you.
As you're compiling that masterpiece, speaking of the linebackers, speaking to the linebackers, let's make Dane Brugler the GM of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right.
Okay. So first and foremost, you love to hear that this particular draft class is above average at linebacker. Guess what? You have a need there. Now that you've seen Christian Parker's plan, you know his staff, you see what they're looking for. What are realistic options for the Cowboys in either one of their first round picks in this draft that could help what Christian Parker needs done in Dallas?
Well, I mean, I mentioned Jacob Rodriguez, and he's just a guy I keep coming back to because the theme of this draft as a whole is going to be just draft good football players. I think we get caught up in chasing traits and chasing upside and all this. Just give me the good football players, the guys that check the box for the tape, check the box for the athleticism, check the box for the production. Give me those type of guys, and that's Jacob Rodriguez. And the more I watch him, the more I think, okay, I don't think he's limited to a certain scheme. I don't think he's, I think he really can do a lot of different things, whether you're asking him to get downhill and beat a block or take on a block, or if you're asking him to zone drop and really sniff out the routes and understand the route concepts around him so you can make the, get the beat on the ball and pick it off. So I think that Rodriguez is a guy I keep coming back to as, man, this is the type of player I'd rather have on my team instead of facing him and trying to come up with a game plan going up against him.
And kind of segueing off of that, I've always been intrigued with picking the brains of analysts and scouts as far as when you're coming to the NFL Combine and you're going to these pro days, what's your weighted scale as far as drills and 40-yard dashes? Right. And are they simply enhancers for what you already know and have seen in your film study and your tape study? Or with you, is it a situation where if a guy unfortunately bombs at the pro day or the combine, does that undermine the homework you've done? How does your scale work there?
So I look at the testing, the combine, pro days, workouts as a big cross-checking exercise because you've watched all the tape. The combine should not be your first exposure to a player.
Agreed.
Watch him as a football player, get a sense for what he does best, and then have expectations for what type of athlete he is. So you go into the workouts, go into the combine, saying, okay, on tape, he's a 4.48 athlete. And then, okay, if he works out and he's right around there, okay, that matches up with what we put on tape. If he's a lot faster or a lot slower, then you go back to the tape and figure it out and say, okay, maybe he was dealing with a hamstring injury the 3 games I watched, or maybe, who knows? It's a fact-finding mission. But if there's ever a big discrepancy, you need to figure out why instead of just trusting one or the other, because something's off in one of those calculations. But and I always tell agents all the time, like, have your guys run at the combine. Because first of all, it's a fast track out there. There's a good chance your best time is going to come here, and then you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket at the pro day, where maybe you're just having a bad day. Maybe you've woke up with a cold that day. If you don't run the way you want to here in Indy, you have that makeup at the pro day where you can possibly do better. So unless there's a legit injury that keep you from working out here, man, take advantage of it. And I'm glad so many of the linebackers did yesterday.
Let's say the Cowboys, now we all know that the Cowboys should attack defense early, right? But let's say they don't. Cowboys don't have a second or third round. I'm just saying. Let's say they just don't and draft an offensive lineman. You never know. But second, third, they don't have picks for those 2 rounds. So what's a realistic option or for the Cowboys to find a way to get in the second or third round and position group that you're saying, okay, they're deep enough to some really good quality guys could fall to the second, third round?
At what position?
Let's go corner.
So, yeah, I think that with 2 first-round picks, obviously, you have options where if you want to move back with one of those, I think the bigger question will be who wants to move up. Do you have that trade partners, the phone ringing? Are you going to get good value? It's not someone trying to just take advantage of, just see if you'll move back for anything. So that'll be the first hurdle. And then, but I do think that corner's a good position to bring up because it's, in my opinion, I think it's a drop off after round 3. I think rounds 1, 2, 3, there's some good value at the position. Like I love Chris Johnson from San Diego State. The first round, the 2 Tennessee kids, Brandon Cisse from South Carolina. But I do think once you get to round 4, there's a little bit of a drop-off in the depth and what you can expect to find at cornerback. So I'd love to see the Cowboys move around a little bit. And, it'd be great to come away from this draft with 2 top 20 picks. But I'd rather, if you're able to turn one of those draft picks into 2, 3, I think you got to jump at that opportunity.
So then my question for that, Dane, is let's say the Cowboys stick and pick at 12 and 20. When it comes to the true BPA model versus BPA versus need model, hybrid model, where do you err on that side? Because I posed the same question to Will McClay. I posed the same question to Christian Parker. Right. And it seems as if this particular year, more than any, the Cowboys are leaning towards true BPA, but at the same time, they have so many needs on the defensive side of the ball. Right. And if you're sticking and picking, that means you're likely not going to have those day 2 picks, second round, third round. What would your approach be, and are you still going true BPA if the BPA happens to be an offensive player?
I think you have to go BPA. Like, that's just the right way to go about it, but you have to be smart too. If Jeremiah Love is still on the board at 12, can you make that move if you're the Cowboys? It would be first of all, I don't think he will be. He's one of the top 3 players in this draft. Yeah. But not everyone's going to be on board taking a running back in the top 10. And so if just in case that happened, could you let Jeremiah Love fall to 13? I don't know that I could, even though that's not a need for this team. So it's an interesting philosophical question that I think every team battles with. Now, some teams will, because I think we need to remember a lot of team boards are 100, 120, 150 names. Like, they're not the full 350, 400 guys that have a chance to get drafted. So, the first round's really condensed with the guys they're looking at. So they're already stacked their board with maybe just the guys that they're looking at, which fit the needs that they have. And the other thing, too, is you hope that in free agency they're able to do enough where there's not a clear – you don't go into round 1 saying, okay, we don't have our edge rusher yet. Yes. We have to go edge rusher. Right. We're forced to go in a certain direction. So that's the hope in free agency. And then that way you can go into the draft being a little more open-minded about, we really we didn't plan on Francis Maui-Noah being here, the right tackle from Miami. But we have such a high grade on him that I don't think we can let him pass. And I think that'd be an interesting fan reaction if they did win offense at 12. But if the right player's there, I don't think you can completely just be closed-minded to that.
Speaking of right player, whose stock would you say has kind of skyrocketed over the first couple of days through interviews, podiums? Who's someone that the Cowboys should keep an eye out on?
Well, I mean, first off, I have to mention Sonny Styles again, just because.
Just drop his name again.
You said the interviews, and that's the thing that doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
And the feedback from the scouts I've talked to on Sonny Styles' interview, I just I don't have a word to describe it. It's like beyond glowing. Yeah, he's 21, just turned 21 years old, 6'5", 240 pounds, did what he did yesterday in the testing. All right, I'm sorry, no more Sonny Styles. But, I'm interested to see Caleb Downs and how he works out today, because he's another one where talking to scouts, ask him, who's impressed during the interviews. Sonny Styles is the name that always gets brought up. Caleb Downs is the other. And another situation where I don't think he should be there at 12, but not every team is on board with drafting a safety in the top 10. Yep. So it's at least a possibility. It's not a 0% chance. It might be 20%, but at least there's a chance. And I think you don't watch him and say, oh, that's a freak athlete. And so I want to see how he tests. I want to see how he moves. But the real secret to what makes him so special is how smart he is, how intelligent he is, what he brings to the field, the communication, how he makes everybody right. He can really, and I think he's like a defensive coordinator's dream because of the ways that you can deploy your coverage and disguise and these trap coverages. And he's the skeleton key that unlocks everything because of the communication, the way he gets everybody lined up right. But the interviews have been fantastic, and now it's time for the testing with Downs, and I'm eager to see how that goes.
So for my final question, Dane, you're making this really easy for me because it was about Caleb Downs. So in speaking about Caleb Downs, excellent information you just provided on that young man. If Caleb Downs, for whatever reason, is available at 12, the Cowboys are going to have a conversation with themselves culturally, because typically they don't go high on safeties. They like to develop late-round picks from safeties and move them up into starting roles. But assuming they take Caleb Downs at 12, what do you see from him in the Christian Parker system? And what immediately comes to mind is Ryan Smith, Arizona, Budda Baker. Do you see those types of traits in the Caleb Downs?
Yeah, I do. And I think that what you love about Caleb Downs is he could be whatever you want him to be. If you want him to play in the post, he can do that. You want him to play a robber role, he can do that. Play more of a nickel or, closer to the box where he's almost an extra linebacker, he can do that. And so I think of, with Parker and what he wants to be on defense, I think, whether, you're running cover 6 or what, he will always adjust to the strengths of his team and really lean into that. And I think that's where Caleb Downs can really help you be multiple. Because what's the NFL about? It's about mismatches. Yes, the offense is trying to find the mismatch. The defense is trying to do the same. We talk so much about Nick Emmanwori and what he meant for the Seahawks this year and how he helped against mismatches because he could be a linebacker, be a corner, whatever you want him to be. Downs can also be a part of that too. But the thing is with Downs is he's also your Devin Witherspoon. Because Devin Witherspoon's the guy for Seattle that was telling Nick, hey, do this. Telling Reek Woolen, hey, you need to do this. Downs can be both that, where he's versatile and can do all the things physically, but then also has the intelligence too, where he is ahead of the game based off of pre-snap reads, based off what he's the defensive coordinator on the field. And so I think having that type of vessel to the field for a defensive coordinator, it's invaluable.
I believe the last safety draft in the first round was in 2017 too. So to your point,
not typically
it's not
thing.
typically a thing.
Especially not in Dallas.
So
a lot of teams are battling with that, and saying like the Chiefs, the Saints, they're looking at it and say, hey, we don't typically look at safety this early, but can we really pass on Caleb Downs if he's there? And I think there's a couple teams, and I think the Cowboys included, are kind of hoping, see him fall a little bit, maybe drop in their lap.
Well, we'll see if they do. Before we let you go, if Dallas walks away from Indianapolis with clarity on one thing, what should it be?
Attack the quarterback. I think what's our plan to get after the quarterback? I think that's an area of need, obviously, for this team. We talk so much about Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs and kind of the back end. They need corner help, but you want to address getting after the quarterback. And is that the answers to that going to be in this draft? It's a good edge group. We saw them on the field last night. So, there are a couple of names. I love Malachi Lawrence from Central Florida. Get him in the second round. So I think there are a lot of names that piqued their interest. And so having a plan of attack, how to get after the quarterback, that's something I hope they feel better about as they get out of Indianapolis.
All right, well, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining
Thank you,
us
guys.
as well. Dane Brugler from The Athletic. But we've got more of Podcast Nation up next. Christian Parker joins the show.
At AT&T, we guarantee our network so you can talk college football with your BFF while taking Buster to the vet.
Hey, yeah, I can't believe he ate the whole thing of chicken wings.
And I can't believe we're staging a comeback. Touchdown!
Yes!
Staying connected matters. That's why in the rare event of a network outage, you'll automatically get a bill credit for a full day's service. For wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers, must be connected to impacted tower at onset of outage. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for full details.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
How's it going? You see that Cowboys game?
Oh, I watched. Been seeing some good things.
Totally. They have some talent.
Yup, some great talent.
And they got some fight.
Hoping this is the year.
Me too. Oh, I'm Cody, by the way.
I'm Travis.
Nice to meet you, Travis. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!
Make a new friend based solely on their shirt choice. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Back to the Cowboys Nation podcast.
All right, we are wrapping up Combine coverage here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome back into Podcast Nation. Nicole Hutchison, Patrick Nosey Walker. We got the defensive coordinator joining us, Christian Parker. I know we got a chance to talk, a couple of days ago, but we got the Noop as well. We got Greek life over here, but let's just get straight into it. How has, been adjusting to the new defensive role? It's your first time as DC, so just talk about the adjustments it's taken.
Yeah, it's been good. I think I've seen the transition enough times, working in new places and kind of seeing guys, even their second, third time doing it, whatever, just what we had to go through with building the staff, coaching the coaches, and doing those things. So it's definitely been a process. Like hiring a staff for the first time was a pretty cool experience, and now we're kind of getting into the defense and what we're looking at, for different positions and everything. So that's been pretty fun too.
And speaking of building the staff, now that the staff is finalized, as you take a step back and you look at it as a whole, what's the biggest takeaway that you have looking at your staff and whatever that might be? How intentional was that as you were building that staff?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of first-round draft picks on the staff. I think that the balance we were trying to find, we have a couple college guys, we have some experienced pro guys, we have guys who have kind of been in both worlds in the last 3 or 4 years, guys that know each other, guys that don't. A lot of guys have a similar schematic background in a sense, but like a different focus in terms of what they do. Like, everybody knows how much defense Kirby Smart usually carries at Georgia, so Chidera is not going to blink at that. Scott being a DC in his own right and being in different schemes and how he's done it from Liberty to SMU and at Harding back in the day, that's going to be a huge asset for us. Derek Ansley has a Saban background by trade, but he's also coached in this similar system with Brandon Staley, who used to work for Vic Fangio as well. Ryan Smith, he's been in a bunch of different schemes. And some of the 3 safety things, they did some different things in Arizona that's intriguing, but I know his background. I've known him, forever. So we've talked a lot of football over the years. And then Marcus, I was with Marcus for 2 years. So I can't get more comfortable with, that's what he does with the defensive line is exceptional. And so you kind of combine all those things and give guys different areas of discipline to kind of really focus on. I think we can do something special.
It's funny, I talked to Ryan Smith this week, and he had mentioned that you guys do go way back, obviously rivals in college, and then now you are frat brothers, kept in contact, over the years. What was that process like for you, of course, bringing this staff together? Because I remember when even Shotty and, Jerry, Steven, they were mentioning they had a thorough process, right, hiring you. But what was that process like, filling out the rest of the staff, and what was that process like getting Ryan Smith?
Yeah, well, first off, I didn't realize how many people have my phone number until you get a job. Until then, you get hit. I mean, it's crazy. So I'll say, it was thorough as well. We Zoomed everybody first to try to get, a feel for them and, their philosophy as a teacher, as a coach, bringing them in, usually multiple guys in a day. I was eating at the Cowboy Club in D-Lincoln a whole lot because when we had guys in, we would go to dinner with them the night before, kind of, feel the chemistry and compatibility there, and then get into the football stuff the following day. So it was thorough. I think we went through it. Again, you're getting a million names, but you're going with either guys, when you get in this position, you already have a short list of people that maybe you work with them, maybe you just respected their work from afar, but you want to, surround yourself with those individuals. With Smitty, I mean, I knew the situation in Arizona, so it was really kind of like, hey, if I get this, you're coming, but I'm going to need you to interview and show that to everybody. When I got my first NFL job as a quality control coach in 2019, Smitty actually came and did a Bill Walsh internship with us when I was in Green Bay.
Wow.
And so, I've been around him as a coach. Obviously we talk ball a whole lot, over the course of the year in the downtime. I know his wife, Christine, is not a huge fan of it. Sometimes in the off-season, it's supposed to be family time, and we're sitting up there talking about press technique, you know what I mean, in the summer when they're poolside or something like that. But, he's somebody I hold in high regard, and I'm glad we finally get a chance to align together.
And you guys are coming in Dallas, and the defense is, for lack of a better way to put it, you guys are going to overhaul it. The process has already begun from the defensive coaching staff, you leading that charge. And now as you're here at the 2026 NFL Combine, you have the duality of also, guess what, free agency is about to start as well. Yep. Just talk about the challenges of coming in, first-time DC, having to do a complete defensive overhaul. Schematically wise, you guys are going to be multiple, but 3-4 is the primary, nickel, some play, 4-man, 5-man down front. Yep. Just talk about the challenges of that, and realistically, how long would your expectation be to see you guys go from ground zero to finding a groove as a defense in Dallas?
Yeah, I think, first of all, with the overhauling of it, we just have to be cohesive and on the same page upstairs, which is what we're doing right now. So I'm talking down to what we call offensive formations, motion IDs, runs and passes, so the breakdown is clean. Then we've kind of started. We've been out here meeting every morning as a defensive staff, just kind of getting into the tape and kind of getting acclimated with that. But I think it all starts with the players. So evaluating our roster, free agency, the draft, they're all, in cohesion with each other. But being able to find the best fits at different spots, a lot of them are already here. Yeah. Some of them are already here. We're not saying that we're about to bring a whole new 11, but, there's definitely some positions where we need some better schematic fit. And everybody on Will McClay's side and on our side as coaches have been very aggressive in that.
And really quickly, you mentioned something that stands out there in conjunction with something that Simons said to us and Schottenheimer put out there yesterday, Maris Leofau. You guys are moving him down to outside linebacker. Can you talk about what you see in your scouting of Maris Leofau that makes you look at him and say, hey, there's an edge rusher in there waiting to break out? And what's going to be the challenge of transitioning him and having Shadera transition him over these next several months?
Yeah, I think watching him just going back the last couple of years, in 2024 especially, you saw him coming off the edge a lot. You saw him surfing on backside runs, and he has exceptional arm length. And he's an aggressive, fast player, and he has an awareness for the ball. His first college position coach, Clark Lee, I actually worked with Clark at Notre Dame, and I called Clark about him. He just talked about how smart and instinctive he was, and you feel that on tape. The biggest adjustment for him is going from, on the second level, having 5 or 6 yards of distance to assess what's going on and trigger, versus right now, that's immediate action. Yeah. So you got to buckle up a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
those offensive tackles are right there in your face, ready to lock up.
You ain't got to wait very long. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be the biggest adjustment for him, just changing his sight lines and just the how immediate things are going to occur for him. But we're looking forward. He's excited about the transition. It's not like it's a foreign world to him. Right. He's aligned in that spot in some way, shape, or form before. as a Sam linebacker in the 4-3, so it'll be exciting for him.
I got a chance to actually talk to him yesterday and asked him about how he's feeling with the transition. He was like, man, I'm excited.
Yeah.
But I asked him, what's the ideal size he wants to get to? He said about 240 plus. Is that something that you feel is a good size for him?
Yeah, I think so. I think that when you're playing linebacker, I haven't seen him in person yet because he's been in Florida, but I've seen his frame when he was coming out and everything. So you saw a frame that can hold weight. Yeah. And usually with guys like that, you're almost working harder to stay down in weight to play another position. Now I think that can naturally happen for him in terms of his natural weightlifting and eating progression and everything else. So with his arm length, I think that's probably appropriate with his frame.
I want to look back at – I remember you saying you want to be multiple, but when offenses turn on the tape, what do you want them to have to prepare for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I want them to have to I mean, it's easy to say everything.
Everything.
Right? You know what I'm saying? We don't want to do that.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, we don't want to be jack of all trades, master of none. I think that, you want them to prepare to
have a long day?
Yeah, well, that's first and foremost. I think, the play style is critical. I think sometimes we talk too much about scheme. Mm-hmm. And, I'm talking about, like, as coaches, as players, and less about the play style. What do we want that to look like? What are our principles of play? Yeah. How are we taking on blocks? How are we tackling? How are we leveraging routes on the back end? And how are we taking the ball away? How are we situationally aware? Mm-hmm. I think that's where it starts from a football one-on-one education standpoint. As we kind of put all that together, then you kind of get into the scheme. Mm-hmm. So what is a quarter flat drop for a linebacker? What is a power scoot technique for a defensive lineman? What does close to crush mean for an edge rusher? You start there, and then, okay, we got this. Okay, now it's going to make sense when we put this call in, this call in. So when offenses face us, they need to expect that nothing is going to look the same. Sometimes disguise is good. Sometimes disguise is literally not doing anything. So if you're in a shell and nobody's moving, well, that's a disguise in itself because there's no indicators. Right. So being able to balance between all of that, I think, is critical. But the play style and the fundamentals is most important.
So they can expect to be confused, and they should have the ice bath ready
that
afterwards for the physicality.
I think that's appropriate. That's appropriate. I think that's you want to play this. This is a violent physical game. Yeah. And so it's meant to be played that way. Yeah. But you can only do that if you're doing the little things right.
Going back to the personnel aspect of it, one of your biggest calling cards has been your ability to develop young defensive backs. Obviously, Pat Surtain II, Quinion Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean in Philly. When you're coming in and you're evaluating a guy like Savon Revel, third-round pick last year, didn't have an offseason to prepare last year because he was returning from that torn ACL. You have him in his first healthy offseason, and he's excited. The Cowboys are excited to get you guys together. When you talk about his traits, what stands out the most to you about Revel? And also, how excited are you to get your hands on him, but not just you, Ryan Smith, Derek Ansley, Robert Muschamp, and to develop that young man in the way he can be? Yeah,
really excited. Number one, you know how he's built. I remember sitting in the formal interview room here last year with him coming out of ECU and talking to him. He has a hell of a story. Football means a lot to him, and he wants to work hard at it. So I think that's where it starts. He has that built in his mind. I think physically, his traits, the height, the speed, the power. He has all of that. So now it's about just working really from the neck up in terms of how the position needs to be played. When you're injured coming out, it's hard for you to focus on the little things because, again, like that macro level vision is so important because you got to be able to go out there and execute, right? But then you miss the steps of certain other things in terms of like the rookie development. So really just acting like we're starting with a blank slate with him. I think he's going to be coached by the best with D.A. Smitty and Rob. Those guys do a really good job of bringing guys along. Obviously, I'll be involved in that process as well. So we're really excited to take it as far as we can.
And as you guys are meeting with these prospects, specifically defensive backs, cornerbacks, even more specifically, from a Christian Parker standpoint, what are some non-negotiables that you have to see in a cornerback prospect or someone who's been in the league even a year or two that says, hey, you have to have A, B, and C or we're not entertaining bringing you to Dallas at all?
Well, I think you have to be physically and mentally tough. I think that's where it starts. So you want guys that are willing to tackle, willing to put their hands on people and press, and they can bounce back from things that may not be perfect. That you have to – it's a different position. It's a lonely spot out there. There's no Wi-Fi. When you're flying, you have the SOS on your phone. That's how it feels out there on the island. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to survive out there without looking for confirmation and comfort from anybody else. So you want people who are comfortable doing that. Yeah. I think once you get from that, like the foot speed, the balance, and body control is important. You have to be able to stop just as fast as you start. So the 40 time is cool. You want guys who have level 3 speed, but they better be able to sit it down on the dig routes, the curl routes, and be disruptive on the football. So those are important.
Sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you got to go, but real fast, you're a part of a pretty much rebuilding stage for this Dallas defense. I mean, it's no question that they finished, dead last in pretty much every statistical category last year. But what excites you the most about being a part of this kind of new chapter of this Dallas defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we just have a chance to build it in our image, and I think that we have the right people doing it. I think everybody is urgent in making it happen. It's my first opportunity to make this happen. I think you kind of just dream as a coach to hit that button and call the plays. So with the staff that we were able to hire in an organization like this that's so rich in tradition, you don't have to look very far walking in the building to see an example of what it needs to look like. And so we're going to do our own version of that, but we're really excited to make that happen.
All right, well, Christian Parker, Cowboys defensive coordinator, excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking time out to come and chat with the Dallas Cowboys folks over here.
Much obliged.
Much obliged. But NFL Combine continues here in Indianapolis, Indiana. But that's a wrap here for Podcast Nation. We are heading back to Dallas. So long. We'll see you guys back in Dallas, Texas. Prospects looking to continue to make an impression. We'll see what Dallas ends up taking in the NFL draft in April.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?